Greetings and salutations, friends. My name is, of course, Charles Quasar Banks, and I'd like to welcome you to another video from the Den of Charles. The last time I did a video like this, I made a video entitled Why Charles Isn't Playing Diablo 4. I made this video right before the game came out, at least in early access, and I gave my reasons for why I wasn't playing it. None of my reasons were moral or religious in nature. They were all whinging about the fact that it's an online-only $70 game with microtransactions and seasonal battle passes. Those were all of my issues with the game, and the fact, of course, when a game is live service only, the devs always get their grubby little hands off of it and never let it go, and constantly change it to the point where it's never the same as when you first played it and enjoyed it. So all of those reasons are very good reasons as for why I would not play it. Also, there was no, and there still is, no Paladin or Crusader class. Classes that I enjoyed from previous Diablo games. But, the fact is, I told my chat, I don't want to play this game right now because of these reasons. I would love to play it because I played the open betas and enjoyed them incredibly much. But if you are willing to pay me money to play it, $70 before the first season comes out, I'll play it. I actually did not expect anyone to donate, but they did, and they got me $70 in under a week. So, only a week after the game's official release, and after the early access was over, I actually began playing the game. And so, therefore, it's mainly just because I didn't want to have to spend money out of pocket for a game I knew to be online only. But also, now I know that there are a lot of people who actually wanted to see me play it because they enjoyed seeing me play it in the beta on Twitch. And so I will continue doing so, and I am doing so, even now, 5 days a week on Twitch, from 2:30 to 8:30 Central Standard Time. US, by the by. And I'm enjoying it. Like, this game is more enjoyable than any ARPG I've ever played, since, I don't know, Diablo 2, I guess, and I've played a lot of ARPGs. Well, not a lot. I've actually played a few. Diablo 1, 2, 3, and Path of Exile. Maybe Fate, as well, an old early 2000s ARPG for babies. I did enjoy that quite a lot, but I'm enjoying Diablo 4 more than them all. I do appreciate them all for different reasons. I think Path of Exile is a very deep and very good game, but it's just very boring compared to the visceral nature of combat in Diablo 4, and that's all I care about. So, if you dislike Diablo 4 for any reason, I get it. Totally. But the point is, I'm enjoying myself, and I do not see myself stopping enjoying it anytime soon. So I'll be playing this season, probably next season, and all throughout in between times. I'm really enjoying it. That's basically why I'm playing it, but I also wanted to get to a bit more of the crux of an issue that I have been, no pun intended, that I have been experiencing on Twitch, which is constantly Christians come to me asking me, why are you able to play this game as a Christian? What justifies it in your mind? Did you know that Diablo means devil in Spanish? Did you know that they rented out what used to be a church and enacted a satanic ritual to summon Lilith? Did you know that? And you look it up and it's like this Halloween party where they, pull down a woman dressed like Lilith on wires, and it's like, oh, that looks fun. At least that's how I thought about it. I myself have grown up in a Christian family that was very much against anything satanic, anything demonic, anything fantasy, or even Eastern, anything Pokemon related, anything Harry Potter related, until we watched Lord of the Rings, which is the basis for all fantasy in general, really. We loved Chronicles of Narnia as well, and so my parents, being the reasonable, rational people they are, generally would ask, is there a good reason for my children not to see it? And if they really want to see it, we will watch it with them. I never watched Harry Potter as a child. I never watched Pokemon or played any of the games because of, Eastern mysticism and things like that. But growing up, I have realized, and I've played these things, I've tried them out, I've grown up to be a mature human being. And I'm realizing that these things were never as dangerous as they seemed. Indeed, Pokemon is incredibly harmless, without any kind of supernatural or spiritual overtone or undertone. The only thing is, it may encourage dogfighting in children who want to enact that, or insect fighting. That's the real issue. There's nothing in the background that will ever cause anyone to lose their faith if they watch Pokemon. And I would say the same is true of any well-adapted, well-parented child who watches anything. I saw the movie The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery at about the age of 7 when I watched it on TV. It was the censored version on television that I saw, but I thought it was really cool. It was definitely beyond my age range, and I probably shouldn't have been able to see it, but it didn't make me want to go around shooting people or exploding things. I did not desire to do that. It did make me want to go and play with Nerf guns, and I did, and my father encouraged that, and I enjoy playing with Nerf guns to this day if I can get my hands on them and friends to shoot at. But there is this kind of fallacy in the Christian domain which is cautious, and I appreciate the caution of it, which is, if I watch the wrong thing, if my children watch the wrong thing, they are going to be demonized, they are going to grow up hating Christianity, they are going to be tempted into mysticism and magic, they are going to be tempted into all manner of things. Satanism is what they would expect Diablo to cause. But when the rubber meets the road, the only reason why demonic imagery could possibly be bad is if a child sees it and has nightmares about it and is traumatized by it. Seeing demons in a video game is not going to cause you to lose your faith, and even if there are theological inconsistencies or things that are wrong about the theology given or message given by any piece of media, that doesn't have to have any bad effect upon you. Why? Because, again, if you know the difference between fact and fiction and can enjoy the fiction of a thing, play pretend, and appreciate right and wrong and the delineation of them, then there is literally nothing off the table. I even know some Christians who play Mass Effect and the Witcher games I would never play because of the amount of cussing and sexual encounters in those games. I definitely have an issue with that because I myself have temptation in those directions, alright? So I need to keep myself pure from those things. Those Christians, however, don't feel bad about it in the slightest, because guess what? They just don't do those things in the game. They don't go to those sexual encounters. There are definitely some very scandalous points that no one can get past in the Witcher games and in Mass Effect that I don't want to see in any video game, and I will not ever play Mass Effect or Witcher or any game that has that sort of thing in it, including Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI has lots and lots of love scenes and lots of cussing. These things are beyond the pale for me as a Christian. That doesn't mean that if you are a Christian and you are mature that you can't play those games and not be tempted and not be demonized or possessed or whatever people expect. If you do not feel a prick in your conscience when you play those games, that is between you and God. Maybe you're wrong about that, and you need to be taken into account on that. I am not going to take anyone into account on that if they are an adult. I do take issue with that if they show their little children that. But again, if they are taught correctly, if children are taught correctly and kept from things that will actually lead to losing their faith or to temptation, such as sexual imagery, which is always and scientifically proven to be far more addictive than gore or violent imagery, or even horror imagery, all of those things have been scientifically proven through the last 30 years of video game history to not have a negative impact on people's minds. It just is true, especially on Christians, because if a Christian believes upon Jesus Christ, and they are saved, they are born again, the Holy Spirit dwells within them, they know the scriptures, they know right and wrong, then they will not be affected by these things. Now, if someone is affected by this, by playing Diablo 4 and seeing demons running around and hacking and slashing people to death and hacking and slashing demons, then that's fair. Don't play it, Don't play something that makes you feel icky, because there's no reason why you should play a video game and feel icky. But it's not going to... it may give you nightmares if you are weak to that sort of imagery, and if you're not weak to that sort of imagery, there's nothing wrong with you, specifically. There's something wrong with everyone, honestly, but maybe not because of that. It's not, and this is the other thing, is that violence has been shown not to have an effect on children, or even on parents, on teenagers, to cause them to want to do violence in the same way. It's just not true. For those people who do violence, and who watch violent imagery, usually they seek out violent imagery because they have violence in their heart, such as the different shooters throughout history, the different school shooters, etc. They did not start playing video games and then think, hey, I want to go shoot up a school now. No, it was the opposite. They sought out violent video games because their minds were already set on shooting people. That is their testimony, and that is what we see time and time again, is that for whatever reason, something snaps in a person's brain, and they want to do these things. Regardless, I almost said irregardless, the most ill-described, the worst word in the English language that actually doesn't exist. Regardless of what they watch or play, the violent will do violence, and the peaceful will remain peaceful. Now, of course, if left unsupervised, and children watch movies and see imagery, they may be ill-influenced, but that's the deal. That's why we have PG-13, parental guidance suggested, is that in the presence of parental supervision, these things do not have to have a negative effect on a child. And for an adult, what effect is it going to have on you? That is up to you entirely. And I think Paul's law of liberty in Christ, in Romans and in Corinthians, explains a lot why a person can view some sort of imagery and be fine with it, and another cannot. One person can eat, and it is fine for them, and another person cannot eat because it is sin to them, and vice versa. There is no law in the Lord's Bible that says that you cannot view any form of entertainment. There is nothing about that in the Bible. However, if a child sees their brother being beat up, if they are able to beat up their brother without any recompense or consequence by the parents, if they see the parents fighting each other and hurting each other, yelling at each other, that actually is far more harmful to a child and will cause them to be more violent than watching a violent video game. That is just the case. So, how can I justify Diablo 4? Because I'm a Christian, and I think Diablo 4 was based, at least visually speaking, on Christian aesthetics because the secular people who made it thought they looked cool. And so do I, because I'm a Christian, and I think that's awesome if someone sets a piece of fiction in a Christian-style world, making a new mythology based on Christianity. I think that's really cool, and we can use that as an evangelistic tool as Christians to those who are not Christians to show them, hey, this is a really cool game. Look at how they put all these theological aspects in it. These demons, they're red and they have pitchforks, and that's not at all how the Bible talks about demons. This is how the Bible talks about demons, and then tell them the truth about theology. Because guess what? No piece of fiction or media is where you're supposed to be getting your truth from. Any piece of fiction or creativity, there is no reason to base your life on it, or to base your Christianity on it, or your beliefs, your theology, your science. That's not what creativity is for. And if ever any creative person creates a piece of entertainment with the purpose of teaching or preaching, people generally don't receive it well, because when you open up a piece of entertainment, that is not why you want to view it. Now, non-fictional content, I think, is an excellent place to get across moral messages, because it is based in the foundational reality that we exist in, and that's the same reality that the Bible exists in and history exists in. And so if we want to teach each other the good things, the morals and biblical virtues, I'm not going to go and show them video games and say, this is how it is, because no video game has ever gotten it right, nor will it ever. Because if they do get it right, it's probably not going to be a very fun video game. And I think for Christian developers, the best thing you can do for the testimony of Christ is to make the game with excellence. Do all things to the glory of God. Whatsoever ye do, do them all to the glory of God, and with your utmost attempt at excellence. Because if you're a Christian and you make something bad, then people are going to say, Christians aren't very smart, aren't they? Christians are dumb. Christians are boring. Christians don't care about entertainment, do they? They must be weirdos who just sit in their houses and read books all day and Bibles and are too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. And that may be true for some people, but the truth is, if you are heavenly minded, you will do everything in your power to be excellent in whatever earthly goods you are given by the Lord to do. Any act or work can glorify the Lord. And so if you want to make a video game, a different, unique video game with a weird fantasy magic system, the best way to glorify the Lord in that is to make it the best you can and make sure people know that you're a Christian. And that's what I think is the testimony of the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, a children's horror game, which is a very strange thing to do. And I don't think people have been demonized or traumatized in a negative way who are even children by Five Nights at Freddy's to any grievous extent. I think really, if they are able to be honest about it, seeing that someone Christian was able to come up with something so brilliantly written, even if it's, the lore is all over the place, and very effective, that is a better testimony than if they would have tried to preach the gospel with it. Because guess what? When they preach the gospel in entertainment, everyone flees who is not already a Christian. So that's not how we're going to reach people for Christ, for the gospel, in entertainment. It's by making things that are excellent and that glorify God without being preachy, without being off-putting to the world. And I think with Diablo 4, it doesn't preach the Bible, it doesn't preach anything really, other than motivation, humility. The main character is always very humble, very quiet, very good, very loving to most people, very compassionate. And I think there is a moral message in it, that the people who think themselves holier than thou are generally those that are weakest against the demons. And that is something the Bible also says. Jesus called out the Pharisees and hypocrites of the religious leaders of his day as being basically hated by God. Woe be to them, right? And that's something that we need to remember. And Diablo definitely has a chip on its shoulder against the Catholic Church, but I think Protestants do as well, for very good reason. But Diablo 4 also does not show the whole Christian church, or even the Cathedral of Light church in the game, to be evil or to be bad. It's just deceived people, or people who are too high and mighty, that are weak to the evil ones and end up betraying the good side of the story. Rather, it has lots of side quests with lots of Cathedral of Light characters that you are trying to save and help, and they help you, and they are good, and there's a specific side quest about an exorcist named Octavia, who goes around finding demonized and possessed people being caused by the presence of Lilith, and she exorcises them with a ritual involving a goblet and the blood of the innocent, which is kind of creepy in and of itself. But either way, that is the creative way in which they depict the light side in this game. So she is actually effectively exorcising people until she comes across a demon that she cannot exorcise, and she needs your help to defeat it. You defeat it, you think that it is defeated, but Octavia is injured in the process, and then she becomes demonized, and you have to exorcise her. The church doesn't like this because they do not believe in exorcism outside of the Catholic Church's purview, and so Octavia has been doing all of this without knowledge of the cathedral. And the cathedral tries to stop you, but you succeed. You make prayers according to scriptures, and Octavia is healed and delivered, and you are able to fight and destroy the demon that was afflicting her. And then she continues and says, "You will always have a friend in the cathedral. Thank you for sticking your neck out for me. And, let's continue to help people along the way." And that is such a positive message, I can't get over it. It's incredible. There must be someone Christian, or at least someone looking out to make sure that Christians are not poorly depicted in every sense. Because there are definitely some bad Christians out there, there are definitely some bad Catholics out there, some bad apples in the bunch, especially in leadership. But the true church is humble. The true church is in the midst of us. It is not the high and mighty, holier than thou, glorious, rich and wealthy that are going to enter the kingdom of heaven. It is those who know their weakness, know their flaws, and are constantly struggling with the sin in their lives, and are constantly relying on the glory of God and on the grace and mercy of Christ to get them out of the situations they're in. So, I hope this helps those who have been on the fence about Diablo 4. It's definitely a gory video game. It is definitely a game which has lots of neutral depictions of magic and sorcery, and good depictions of magic and sorcery as well, where you can use sorcery to defeat demons, which doesn't make any sense at all in the real world, but, magic in video games doesn't make sense at all in the real world anyway. So I don't see any harm in that either. It's also an M for mature game, so children shouldn't be playing this anyway, but I think if you are mature, no matter what age you are, if you are mature, you are not going to be negatively affected or tempted by anything in Diablo 4. If you have reservations for its dark imagery, its nightmarish horror theming, its vicious violence, then fair enough, don't play the game. But if you like an ARPG and like to chill out of an evening, slay some hordes of demons, I would highly recommend Diablo 4. And I am enjoying it very much. I will probably do a review video as well one of these days for Diablo 4 once the first season ends, letting you know my full thoughts on Diablo 4 as a video game, but I wanted to get my thoughts out here as to why I'm able to play it both as a gamer and as a Christian. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you, fare thee well, and remember, the good Lord loves you, and so do I. I'm live on Twitch 5 days a week. Go follow me there at twitch.tv/Charles Eubanks. Thanks for watching, and please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a kindly comment in the comments below. And ring that notification bell. Is there anything else I have to... I don't really care about success on YouTube, because YouTube's algorithm is just so anti-human. But I do appreciate any support I can get. You can donate on Twitch, via PayPal, if you wish to support me. And yes, goodbye, thank you, goodbye.